We're going live to Iowa, where Dr. H.S. Sikankwu is ready to give us the tidbits for. Are we ready with that, or shall we take a break and come back? Are we ready with that? Okay, all right. We're waiting. Okay, yeah, there you go. Hi, Dr. Sikankwu, Prof. How are you?
Hello, Paul. Good evening. I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Okay, so you're talking to us from Iowa, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. From Iowa City, precisely the University of Iowa. It's a college campus, and lots of students here.
I see. So we're reading that 63% of CNN viewers thought that Kamala Harris won the debate. 37% thought that Donald Trump won the debate. Donald Trump himself has told people that he won the debate. But tonight, Trump is back in Pennsylvania, reminding them that Kamala Harris is not their friend because she is against fracking. How is that going? How is the post-debate campaign going?
Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, there has been a lot of activity in the aftermath of that consequential debate, which was a very consequential moment in the presidential election, a very high stakes event. But if you wanted a clue as to how really critical this stage of the election is, it is exactly what you've said. Both candidates have moved to the swing states with no delay. Immediately after the debate, Donald Trump, as you rightly said, in Pennsylvania, going on to Georgia, and Kamala Harris in Wisconsin and North Carolina as well. Both of them are claiming victory in the debate. Donald Trump insisting that he won the debate, still insisting that Americans have to protect their culture because immigrants are here eating cats and dogs and eating their pets, and they need to protect the sanctity of the American society from illegal immigrants who are committing crime and destroying the very fabric of American society. Kamala Harris is also in North Carolina, selling her message to them and also insisting that they need to turn a new page. They need to turn from the darkness, the divisiveness that Donald Trump has brought, and that she will work for the middle class, should work to improve the lives of Americans. So both of them have been holding dwelling campaigns in different states, and that is indicative of how very, very unpredictable this particular race is. As you rightly said, most polls or media polls that happened after the debate indicated that Kamala Harris had actually won that debate. But we also do know that there are a lot of people who are still concerned about policy, waiting to hear a lot about the policy work. If you speak to a lot of the young people here on campus, they say that what they want to hear is more meat and potatoes. They want to hear more detail as to what the candidates have for them. They also say they want honest government. They want the politicians to be honest, to be open, and not just say what they want to hear. So they say beyond the language, beyond the flowery language, beyond the rhetoric, they really want to hear about, they really want to hear details about how both candidates are going to address their issues. So a lot of this is still a toss-up, and the candidate, the race has entered into its very, very final stretch.
But Kamala Harris is still leading in the polls, is that correct?
Yes, you're right. In most of the polls, and there are several polls that take place. There's the CNN poll, there is the Quinnipiac University poll, there's the NBC, the CBS, the traditional Gallup poll, there's 538.com, there's Nate Silver's poll, there's the Real Clear Politics poll, the Washington Post poll, Political poll, Pew Research. Quite a number of polls that are being organized here. Most of them sometimes in partnership with universities. There's, of course, the CNN and the Fox polls as well. So what most researchers or what most analysts will do is to look for the polling average, right, across board. Then, and they do this for the national polls. But there's also the swing state polls, which will determine the electoral college, because don't forget that the national polls are indicative of popularity, how the candidates are popular across board. But it really might not work so much for you because it's not a popularity contest. It's about delegates in the electoral college. So let's take it one after the other. In terms of the national poll, the general poll, generally speaking, if you ask who is leading in the polls, yes, Kamala Harris is leading, but it's very, very marginal. In fact, yesterday's poll from the New York Times had her ahead just by 1 point, 48-49. So she was just ahead by 1 point. If you do the average of the polls, you find out that she's ahead between 3 and 4 percentage points. And that is really not a lot if you look at the margin of error and you look at the volatility of this race. There's still quite a huge percentage, about 20% of people who say they are still yet to make up their minds. So yes, she's leading in those polls. But then if you come down to the swing state polls, quite a number of, 7 to 8 states, which are going to determine the outcome of this particular election, because the rest are pretty much settled between the red and the blue. In these swing states, Kamala Harris is ahead in, let's say, Wisconsin, Michigan. She's ahead there by 2 to 3 percentage points. Some people have her up at 4. So, this is not a whole lot. Hillary Clinton was ahead by wider margins at this point. Biden was ahead by wider margins at this point. But again, it is a race that is so close that even the most marginal percentage points or votes will make a difference. Remember that in the last election, when Trump won, he won certain states by less than a percentage point, by 0.03% in certain states. So this is really going to get down to the wire. Trump is also leading in Georgia. He's also taken up in, I believe, Arizona, and North Carolina is a toss-up. So toss-up North Carolina and definitely toss-up Pennsylvania. No president has won the elections without winning Pennsylvania and most of the times Wisconsin. And none of them is ahead in Pennsylvania. And in North Carolina, none of them is ahead as well. In Nevada, it's still a bit shaky. So this is not a settled case at all. They've invested about $62 million in the Pennsylvania markets. What I mean is that, I beg your pardon, what I mean is that in terms of television advertisements, as much as $62 million have been invested in TV ads in Pennsylvania alone. This is one state across, trying to influence voters and shape their mind. So this is really going to get down to the wire, and both candidates are leaving nothing to chance. Remember, there's a vice presidential debate also coming up, and people might look at that to make up their minds as well. So yes, the debate has happened, but we do not know to what extent it's going to impact voter outcome, and I don't think claiming victory in the debate would necessarily correlate to electoral outcomes, but it definitely would shape certain minds, and especially for a race which is as close as possible, getting every single voter to pay attention is very important. Quite a number of people watch that debate. I think they put the figure at 17 million or so. I beg your pardon. I need to check on that figure, but quite a number of people watched that particular debate. I take that figure back, but quite a number of people watched that particular debate, and so every single vote.
Okay, when is the vice president's debate? When is the vice president debate?
That's happening on October 7th, or in the early part of October. J.D. Vance going against Tim Walz in that particular debate. Walt saying he's looking forward to debating J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance also preparing very, very hard for that particular debate. So that's also coming up very soon.
So let's talk about Pennsylvania in the concluding part. The way the race is getting close and close, and in spite of Kamala Harris believed to have dominated in the debate, Pennsylvania is still not looking soda for the Democrats. If they don't get Pennsylvania, or even right now while Pennsylvania is still looking difficult, is there a regret that Shapiro was not named the running mate?
Well, no, not at least on the part of the Kamala Harris side. And if there is, they're definitely not showing it. But that has not come up in the conversation at all. There hasn't been any trope or any narrative or any storyline at all from the Kamala camp or even within the public domain. Really, it's not part of the conversation. So I guess they're happy with their choice. Kamala has shown that she's her own person. A lot of the analysts and a lot of watchers had predicted that because of the critical nature of Pennsylvania, as we've already noted, Shapiro would have done a lot for her, but it looks as if those conversations have been obliterated by the performance that Tim Walz has put up. A lot of people see him as a Midwesterner anyway, He belongs to the Midwest. He speaks to the white working class. And so he's speaking to the same kind of voters who are in Pennsylvania and across the blue wall. He's a former social studies teacher, a former military man, a governor in his own right, winning in a red state. So they believe that his Polski nature, his relatability, people really find him very honest. They believe that he speaks like the everyday man. And in a poll, when they said, would you want to drink beer with J.D. Vance or Tim Walz? A lot of people went for Tim Walz. So I think they've gone past that. They also believe that Harris chose somebody that she had a certain rapport with. You know, Tim Walz is a very affable person. They both really like to laugh a lot. And so at the end of the day, she went with somebody that she personally gelled with. And that's important. You might be great, but if the candidate does not gel with you, that really could work to your disadvantage. So I do think they've banished any form of regret about Shapiro. Well, at least for now, until the election itself is held, we do wait to see how that's going to turn out.
The issue about Donald Trump has the opportunity of only one term. Is it part of the conversation?
Well, I don't think so. Not from the media narratives that you've heard. There's quite a number of media networks here, a lot of coverage going on, and it hasn't really come up. I think what has been really dominant in the conversation is about his unhinged nature. But Paul, there is a genuine concern there. Let me say this. The conversation has been more about the unhinged nature of Donald Trump, his very erratic nature. And it is via this particular narrative that conversation about a one term comes up, right? So they are saying if Trump was unpredictable and very, very bombastic in his first term, can you imagine a Trump in a second term where he has no accountability to the voters, where there is no threat of re-election again? So I do have to say that yes, it has come in the conversation via his own unpredictability, via his unhinged nature, his provocateur nature, his politics of vilification. That is where the concern is, especially when it comes to foreign policy and other domestic policies. And in fact, when Dick Cheney endorsed Donald Trump, I got to say that it was one of the major reasons that he gave. When Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris, who is in a different party, he didn't endorse Donald Trump, who belongs to his own political party. That's one of the reasons that he gave, that there is a very palpable and realistic threat to the nature of democracy as Americans have known it, because Donald Trump is a threat to American democracy, and that he will upend the political structure and institutions as we've known it. And it has come through the Project 2025 as well. That's where the conversations come, because there's a lot in that 2025 document: politicization of the civil service, politicization of the courts, the evisceration of certain government departments and agencies. And so people look at that and they talk about a one-term Donald Trump and the threat that this represents to American society or democracy as they know it. So yes, I must say that has come in the conversation, but it is via the threat that he represents to the fabric of the nation.
Okay, final question, H, a very final one, because it's past 11:30 here. Melania Trump, Donald Trump's wife, was seen on the campaign trail in 2016, and it was very effective, perhaps looking at the Latino and independent votes. Is there a chance that she's going to be on a campaign trail again, or the troubles of Donald Trump may have affected her interest in supporting her husband publicly?
You know, Paul, it's interesting that you mentioned Melania Trump, because really she has been absent and completely invisible in this particular election. I do think a conversation might have taken place and a decision was taken. Melania Trump has not been visible on a campaign trail as we have seen in the past. I mean, that's pretty obvious throughout this campaign period. And so she's not been part of the conversation. Donald Trump has pretty much done this all by himself. I mean, she has appeared at places that she has no choice to do, but really she hasn't been a part and parcel of this like she was before. And if you compare that to the second gentleman, that's the husband to Kamala Harris, he has held campaign events. He has stamped for Kamala Harris. He's gone on to do robocalls, to make phone calls for Kamala Harris. And so I think there's a difference that we've seen in the campaign. But Donald Trump has been somebody who has not really relied on Meliana as a surrogate in a presidential campaign. So I doubt this will affect him in any way.
Okay, Eche, thank you very much.